I heard the wine glass shatter before I registered what my future father-in-law had just said. My name is Cindy, and 6 months ago, I thought I was living a fairy tale. Tonight, I'm going to tell you how that fairy tale turned into the kind of nightmare that forces you to rebuild yourself from scratch, and how I made sure everyone who tried to destroy me regretted it. It was supposed to be perfect. The engagement dinner at Riverside Manor in Charleston, South Carolina. White tablecloths, candles everywhere, my fiancé Derek's entire family gathered to celebrate our upcoming wedding. I wore the dress I'd saved for 3 months to buy, simple, elegant, navy blue. I wanted to look like I belonged. But the moment I walked into that private dining room, I felt it. The cold stares from Derek's mother, Patricia. The way his father, Richard, looked me up and down like he was appraising livestock. The tight smile from Derek's sister, Amanda. Still, I told myself it would be fine. Derek loved me. That's what mattered. Then came the toast. Richard stood up, his silver hair perfectly styled, his suit probably worth more than my car. He raised his glass, and the room went quiet. To my son Derek, he began, his voice smooth as expensive whiskey. A man who's worked hard to build his career at our firm. A man who deserves the very best life has to offer. He paused. His eyes landed on me. And to his fiancée. Cindy, isn't it? The elementary school teacher. The way he said elementary school teacher made it sound like I cleaned sewers for a living. I just hope, Richard continued, and I saw Derek tense beside me, that Derek knows the difference between love and opportunism. The room temperature dropped 20 degrees. Patricia actually smiled into her wine glass. And Derek? My fiancé? The man who'd proposed to me 3 months earlier on bended knee? He said nothing. I felt my hand tighten around my own wine glass. The stem pressed against my palm. Excuse me? I finally managed. Richard's smirk widened. Oh, come now. You're a schoolteacher from a small town in Georgia. Derek's a junior partner at the most prestigious law firm in Charleston. You can't blame a father for being protective. That's when Derek spoke. Finally. But not to defend me. Dad, can we not do this right now? Not Dad, that's inappropriate. Not Dad, apologize to my fiancé. Just. Can we not do this right now? Like I was an inconvenience. Like his father hadn't just called me a gold digger in front of 30 people. I stood up. My chair scraped against the hardwood floor. Cindy, Derek reached for my arm. I pulled away. No. That's all I said. Just no. And then I walked out of Riverside Manor, through the lobby, past the valet, and into the parking lot where I'd left my beat-up Honda Civic between 2 Mercedes. I didn't cry until I was on the highway. Let me take you back, because you need to understand who I was before that night. I grew up in Macon, Georgia. My dad was a mechanic. My mom cleaned houses. We weren't poor, but we weren't comfortable either. I learned early that if I wanted something, I had to work for it. So I did. Scholarships got me through college. Student loans covered the rest. I graduated with a degree in elementary education and $40,000 in debt, and I was proud of it. Because I'd done it myself. I moved to Charleston for a teaching job at Palmetto Elementary. The pay wasn't great, but I loved the kids. Still do. There's nothing more real than a 7-year-old telling you exactly what they think. I met Derek at a coffee shop. He was charming, funny, successful. He told me he loved that I was grounded. That I wasn't like the women in his social circle who only cared about designer bags and country club memberships. He said I was refreshing. 6 months later, he proposed. I should have seen the red flags. The way he'd cancel plans when his family was in town. How he never wanted me to meet them until the engagement was official. The fact that when I finally did meet Patricia and Richard, they asked more questions about my background than about me as a person. But I was in love. And Derek kept telling me they'd warm up to me eventually. If you've ever ignored red flags because you wanted to believe in someone, drop a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. Because I need you to know, you're not alone. The drive home took 40 minutes. I white-knuckled the steering wheel the entire way. Derek called 16 times. I didn't answer. When I finally pulled into the parking lot of my apartment building, a modest 2-bedroom I shared with my cat, Sergeant Whiskers, I saw his car already there. He was leaning against the driver's side door, still in his suit. Cindy, please. Why didn't you defend me? The question came out quieter than I expected. I wanted to scream it. Instead, it just fell out. Derek ran his hand through his hair. It's complicated. It's not complicated. Your father called me a gold digger. In front of everyone. And you sat there. He's old-fashioned. He doesn't understand? He doesn't have to understand. He has to be respectful. And you should have made him. Derek stepped closer. In the streetlight, he looked tired. My family's been through a lot. My dad built that firm from nothing. He's protective of our legacy. He just needs time to see what I see in you. What you see in me, I repeated. And what's that, Derek? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you see someone you're embarrassed of. That's not fair. You're right. It's not. None of this is fair. He reached for my hand. I let him take it, but I didn't squeeze back. Give me a week, Derek said. I'll talk to him. I'll make this right. I wanted to believe him so badly. So I nodded. Derek didn't make it right. Instead, I got a phone call from Patricia. Cindy, dear, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. I think it's best if you and Derek take some time to reconsider this engagement. You're a lovely girl, but you're simply not suited for our family. Does Derek know you're calling me? A pause. Derek understands the importance of family unity. That's not an answer. Darling, I'm trying to save you from embarrassment. You're a schoolteacher. Derek's going to inherit a multi-million-dollar law firm. Do you really think you can keep up? That you belong in our world? I hung up. 2 days later, Derek showed up at my apartment. He looked wrecked, hair messy, eyes red. I need to postpone the wedding, he said. Not cancel. Postpone. Your mother called me. He winced. I know. I'm sorry. But I need time to smooth things over with my family. They're important to me, Cindy. I can't just cut them off. I'm not asking you to cut them off. I'm asking you to stand up for me. I am. In my own way. Just give me 6 months. Maybe a year. Let them see how good we are together. Then we can move forward. I looked at this man I'd planned to marry. This man who'd promised me forever. And I realized he was asking me to wait for him to grow a spine. No. Cindy. I pulled the engagement ring off my finger. It was beautiful, 2 carats, platinum band. Probably cost him $15,000. I held it out. Take it. Don't do this. You already did. He didn't take the ring. So I set it on the coffee table between us and walked into my bedroom. When I came back out 10 minutes later, he was gone. The ring was still there. I called in sick to work. Spent the day on my couch, eating ice cream and watching true crime documentaries. Around 3 p.m., my best friend Maya showed up with wine and Chinese food. I heard, she said, letting herself in with the spare key I'd given her. How? Amanda posted something on Instagram about how some people don't know their place. I put 2 and 2 together. Of course. Derek's sister. The mean girl energy never leaves some people. Maya sat down next to me, opened the wine without bothering with glasses, and handed me the bottle. You're better off. I know. Do you though? I took a sip. I really loved him, Maya. I know you did. But love isn't supposed to make you small. And that family was trying to shrink you down to nothing. She was right. I knew she was right. But it still hurt. If you've ever had to walk away from someone you loved because they wouldn't fight for you, hit that like button. Let this story reach someone who needs to hear it. I returned to work the following Monday. My principal, Mrs. Henderson, pulled me aside. Cindy, are you all right? You seemed off last week. I almost lied. Almost said I was fine. Instead, I told her everything. Mrs. Henderson listened, her expression hardening with each detail. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. That family sounds toxic. They're prominent. Richard Whitmore's firm handles half the major cases in Charleston. Money doesn't give you the right to treat people like garbage. She paused. You know, my sister works in legal administration. She's mentioned the Whitmore firm before. Not always positively. What do you mean? Just rumors. About how Richard treats junior associates. How the firm operates. Nothing concrete, but enough to make people talk. Something clicked in my brain. Could your sister get me information about the firm? Public records, case outcomes, that sort of thing? Mrs. Henderson gave me a long look. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that maybe Richard Whitmore isn't as untouchable as he believes. She smiled. I'll make a call. Mrs. Henderson's sister, Janet, worked as a paralegal at a competing firm. She couldn't give me privileged information, but she could point me toward public records. I spent the next 3 weeks becoming an expert on the Whitmore legal group. What I found was fascinating. The firm was successful, yes. But it was also hanging by a thread financially. Richard had made several bad investments in the past 5 years, a failed real estate development, a tech startup that went under, a yacht that spent more time being repaired than being sailed. The firm was still profitable, but barely. And Derek's position as junior partner was more title than substance. He wasn't on the letterhead. He didn't have equity. He was a salaried employee with a fancy business card. But here's what really got my attention. The firm was being audited by the South Carolina Bar Association. 3 former associates had filed complaints about billing practices. Specifically, about inflating hours on client cases. The investigation was ongoing. Quiet. But real. I made copies of every public document I could find. Bar Association filings. Court records. Financial disclosures from Richard's failed business ventures. Then I did something that surprised even me. I reached out to one of the former associates who'd filed a complaint. Her name was Lauren Chen. She'd worked at Whitmore Legal for 2 years before leaving last summer. We met at a coffee shop in Mount Pleasant, far enough from Charleston that we wouldn't run into anyone. Lauren was young, sharp, exhausted. "Why did you leave?" I asked. "Because Richard Whitmore is a bully and a fraud," she said flatly. "He'd pressure us to inflate our billable hours. If we refused, he'd make our lives hell." I watched 3 associates quit before me. One had a nervous breakdown. "Did you report it?" "To the Bar Association, yes. But these things take time. And Richard has connections. I'm not holding my breath." "What if you had more evidence?" Lauren's eyes sharpened. "What kind of evidence?" "The kind that shows a pattern. Multiple witnesses. Documentation. You have that?" "I can get it." Comment below if you've ever realized that the person who hurt you was actually vulnerable. That they weren't untouchable. Because that's the moment everything changes. I wasn't a lawyer. I wasn't an investigator. I was an elementary school teacher from Macon, Georgia. But I was also angry. And anger, when it's directed properly, can be a remarkable tool. I spent the next month quietly contacting other former Whitmore Legal employees. Not all of them wanted to talk. Some were scared. Some had signed NDAs. But 3 of them agreed to go on record. Each of them told similar stories: pressure to bill excessive hours, hostile work environment, Richard's explosive temper behind closed doors. I compiled everything into a single document. 23 pages. Footnoted. Organized. Then I sent it to the South Carolina Bar Association investigator handling the original complaint. I didn't hear back for 2 weeks. When I did, it was a phone call. "Ms. Morrison? This is David Park with the Bar Association. I received your submission." My heart hammered. "And?" "It's comprehensive. Very helpful. We're expanding our investigation based on this information." "What does that mean?" "It means Richard Whitmore is about to have a very difficult few months." I thanked him and hung up. For the first time since that engagement dinner, I smiled. Derek tried to contact me a few times during those weeks. I ignored him. But one evening, he showed up at my apartment again. This time, he looked worse. Thinner. Tired. "Cindy, we need to talk." "I don't think we do. The firm's being audited." "Did you know that?" I kept my face neutral. I'd heard something about that. Someone submitted a complaint. With details. Private details about our operations. "Maybe one of your unhappy employees?" Derek stepped closer. "Was it you?" I met his eyes. "Why would I do that?" "Because you're angry. Because my father insulted you. Because I didn't defend you the way you wanted." "Derek, I submitted publicly available information to a bar association investigation that was already happening. I didn't break any laws. I didn't leak privileged information. I just helped connect some dots." He stared at me. "Do you have any idea what this could do to my family? Do you have any idea what your family did to me?" Silence. "I loved you," I said quietly. "I would have been a good wife. A good daughter-in-law. But your father called me a gold digger, and you sat there. Your mother told me I wasn't good enough, and you asked me to wait while you smoothed things over. You chose them over me, Derek. Every single time. It's not that simple. It is that simple. You're a coward. And your father's a bully. And now you're both dealing with the consequences. Derek's jaw tightened. You're going to regret this. No, I said. I don't think I will. He left. I locked the door behind him and realized my hands were steady. If you've ever stood up to someone who tried to make you feel small, tap that subscribe button. Because we need more stories about people finding their strength. The Bar Association investigation took 4 months to complete. During that time, I lived my life. I taught my students. I adopted a second cat. I went on a few dates that went nowhere, and that was okay. I didn't think about Derek. I didn't think about Richard. I just lived. Then, one afternoon, Maya called me. Turn on the news. What? Channel 7. Turn it on right now. I grabbed my remote. The headline read, Prominent Charleston law firm under investigation for billing fraud. My breath caught. The reporter was standing outside the Whitmore Legal Building. The South Carolina Bar Association has concluded its investigation into Whitmore Legal Group, finding evidence of systematic overbilling and fraudulent billing practices. Richard Whitmore, the firm's founder, is facing potential disbarment. 3 junior partners have been suspended pending further review. They showed Richard's photo. Then Derek's. I sat down on my couch. Maya's voice came through the phone. Did you? I just gave them information, I said. They did the rest. Cindy. They did this to themselves, Maya. I just turned on a light. The news continued. The firm was facing lawsuits from former clients. The investigation had uncovered years of problematic practices. Richard was denying everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. Derek's career was over before it ever really began. And I felt nothing. No triumph. No satisfaction. Just a quiet sense of closure. 3 weeks after the news broke, I received an email. From Derek. Cindy. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I wouldn't blame you if you deleted this without reading it. But I need to say this. You were right. About everything. My father built his career on fear and manipulation. I watched him do it my entire life, and I told myself it was normal. That it was just how business worked. I watched him treat you like you were beneath us, and I said nothing because I was afraid of him. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you the truth. The firm's gone. My dad's facing disbarment. My mom's not speaking to me because I refused to lie to the investigators. Amanda moved to Atlanta. And I'm realizing that everything I thought was important, the firm, the family legacy, the money, none of it mattered. You mattered. And I lost you because I was too weak to see it. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that you were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I ruined it. I hope you're happy, Cindy. I really do. Derek. I read the email 3 times. Then I closed it and went back to grading papers. If this story hit you right in the heart, leave a comment telling me what lesson you're taking from it. And share this with someone who needs to hear it. I'm sitting in my classroom right now, watching the afternoon sun stream through the windows. It's been 6 months since that engagement dinner. 6 months since I walked out of Riverside Manor and decided I was done being small. The Whitmore firm closed last month. Richard lost his license. Derek's working at a mid-sized firm in Columbia, no longer a junior partner, just an associate. Patricia sold the house in the Battery and moved to Florida. I heard all of this from Maya, who heard it from someone who knew someone. I don't follow their lives anymore. As for me, I got promoted to lead teacher at my school. I'm developing a new reading program for struggling students. I adopted that second cat, his name is Captain Pancakes, and he's ridiculous. I went on a few more dates. Some were good. Some were terrible. I'm not in a hurry. Because here's what I learned. You teach people how to treat you. And if you accept disrespect once, you'll accept it again and again until you don't recognize yourself anymore. Richard Whitmore thought he could bully me into disappearing. Derek thought he could ask me to wait while he figured out how to be brave. But I didn't disappear. And I didn't wait. I just held up a mirror and let them see themselves clearly for the first time. I'm not going to lie and tell you revenge felt sweet. It didn't. What felt good was reclaiming my dignity. What felt good was refusing to be small. What felt good was building a life I'm proud of, with or without a man who can't stand up to his father. Derek wasn't a bad person. He was weak. And weakness, when it's paired with cowardice, can do just as much damage as cruelty. His father was the real villain. But Derek enabled him. He chose comfort over courage. And in doing so, he lost someone who would have loved him through anything, if he'd just had the backbone to choose her back. I don't regret submitting that information to the Bar Association. Those billing practices were hurting real people. Clients who trusted the firm. Associates who were bullied into compliance. I just helped speed up the inevitable. Sometimes justice doesn't look like a movie ending. Sometimes it's quiet. Administrative. A series of emails and phone calls that dismantle something that should have never been built in the first place. And that's okay. Because the goal isn't always revenge. Sometimes the goal is just making sure the truth comes out. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever walked away from someone who couldn't see your worth, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Share this video. Leave a comment about your own moment of choosing yourself. Because these stories matter. Your story matters. I still teach at Palmetto Elementary. I still drive that beat-up Honda Civic, though I'm saving for a newer one. I still live in my modest apartment with Sergeant Whiskers and Captain Pancakes. But I'm not the same woman who walked into Riverside Manor 6 months ago, hoping to be accepted by people who saw her as less than. I'm stronger. Clearer. Unshakable. And if I ever meet someone new, someone who looks at me the way Derek used to, before his family got involved, I'll know exactly what questions to ask. I'll know exactly what I'm worth. And I'll never, ever settle for less than that again. My name is Cindy Morrison. I'm an elementary school teacher from Macon, Georgia. And this is my story.